No one saw it coming. Not the analysts in Washington, not the intelligence networks in Paris, and certainly not the quiet farmers under the dark skies of Burkina Faso. It began as a whisper, a strange hum that echoed across the northern plains. Villagers looked up, pointing to faint blinking lights gliding across the moon, shadows that had no wings. For weeks, people tried to ignore it, but the silence soon turned into a storm. Reports started flooding in, the same haunting noise, the same eerie movement, night after night. Farmers, soldiers, herders, all telling the same story. Something was watching them from above. Something that did not belong there. When the intelligence files reached Captain Ibrahim Traoré's desk, he didn't dismiss them as myths or paranoia. He knew better. History had taught him that nothing in geopolitics happens by accident. Every shadow has a hand behind it, and this shadow was foreign. Traoré ordered a complete scan of the skies. His young technicians, underfunded but determined, began tracking signals, scanning radio frequencies, and tracing invisible trails across the horizon. What they found made their hearts race. These weren't random drones. They were moving in formation, communicating through encrypted frequencies, circling over military bases, and mapping mineral-rich zones. This wasn't observation, it was intrusion. Burkina Faso wasn't just being watched, it was being studied, prepared, measured. And that night, in the dim light of his command room, Captain Ibrahim Traoré made a decision that would echo across the world. "They think we are blind," he said quietly. "But tonight, we will show them we can see." The operation had begun. For weeks, the Burkinabe radar teams worked in silence. No speeches, no media. Just focus. Traoré didn't want noise. He wanted precision. His people were tired of being watched, analyzed, and underestimated. This time, Africa would write its own script. Every night, the watchers returned 3, sometimes 4 drones, circling, mapping, observing. Western technology moving like ghosts. But this time, something was different. The watchers didn't know they were being watched back. Local engineers adjusted the radar frequencies, building their own detection patterns from scratch. Ground units were deployed beneath the desert night, disguised beneath canvas nets and rock-colored tarps. From above, they were invisible, but below, their eyes were open. Then, one night it happened. A signal blinked on the radar. 3 drones, flying in a triangular formation, heading straight toward a restricted air corridor. Traoré stood at the center of the command room, eyes fixed on the screen. His voice was calm, steady, certain. "Lock targets," he ordered. Every console lit up. The hum of the equipment grew louder. Technicians exchanged tense glances. Traoré didn't blink. He knew that one wrong move could expose everything. And then, with just 2 words, neutralize them, the sky exploded. The first missile streaked upward like lightning, slicing through the dark. A burst of flame tore across the horizon. The second drone fell seconds later, its fragments scattering over the desert. The third tried to escape, jamming, twisting, hiding, but it was too late. 6 minutes. That's all it took. In 6 minutes, a small West African nation had done what no one thought possible. It had struck down Western military drones, right from its own soil. But the real impact wasn't the explosions in the sky. It was the silence that followed in Washington. Across the ocean, phones rang in secret offices. Classified reports were rushed to senior officials. The question echoed across intelligence halls. How did they do it? In Washington, a confidential file landed on Donald Trump's desk. Inside were photos, grainy infrared images of 3 destroyed drones, and a single name, Ibrahim Traoré. Trump was reportedly stunned. Burkina Faso had no advanced air defense systems, no international military alliances. And yet, somehow, it had outsmarted Western surveillance technology. The report didn't call it an accident. It called it a strategic counter-operation of unprecedented precision. Behind closed doors, the conversations turned tense. How did they detect our systems? Who supplied their radar tech? Who trained their units? The questions piled up, but answers were scarce. Meanwhile, in Africa, word spread fast. What began as whispers turned into headlines, and those headlines ignited pride across the continent. A young African leader had done what others never dared, not through protests or speeches, but through action. For the first time, Africa wasn't just being observed, it was being respected. Traore didn't celebrate. There were no fireworks, no public announcements. He met with his commanders quietly, his words steady and deliberate. They watched us like prey, he said, but they forgot that even prey has eyes. And tonight, the hunter has looked back. That single line became legend, printed on posters, shouted in rallies, quoted online. The world had changed, and it had happened in silence. In the days that followed, something shifted across Burkina Faso. Farmers, who once feared the quiet hum of drones, now slept under peaceful skies. Soldiers, who felt watched now, stood taller, prouder. The hum of foreign surveillance was gone, replaced by a new sound, the heartbeat of sovereignty. Western analysts tried to downplay the incident, calling it a malfunction. But the world knew better. A nation once dismissed as powerless had just rewritten the rules of the sky. Diplomatic corridors buzzed with unease. Sanctions were discussed. Retaliation was whispered. But deep inside, everyone understood the truth. The age of unchecked Western control was fading. Traore didn't gloat. He got back to work, strengthening radar systems, training local engineers, building African solutions for African skies. His message was clear. We don't need permission to defend our freedom. And across the continent, his actions sparked something bigger, a movement of pride, resilience, and awakening. From Mali to Niger, from Ghana to Sudan, people began to look up at the night sky differently. It was no longer a space owned by others. It was a space they could protect. That night, Burkina Faso didn't just destroy 3 drones. It destroyed an illusion. The illusion that Africa must always watch in silence while others control its destiny. Now, the world watches Burkina Faso with a new kind of respect and a quiet kind of fear. Because the hunter has looked back, and he is no longer afraid.